Good morning, guys, and welcome back to Greensboro Downtown Yoga. I'm Summer with today's Yoga Basics class, which is all about slowing down our practice a little bit and breaking down some of our poses and some of our practices in a way that can allow you to be more successful when we are going through them in a more fast-paced environment. So today and this week, I'm focusing all on the idea of being bold and how we can integrate our core and our arms to help with some of our arm balances. So I thought we would break down crow pose or Bakasana, which is one of the most commonly seen yoga arm balances in a lot of classes. So don't worry if you are freaking out over having to do an arm balance. I promise I'm going to give you lots of modifications and you don't even have to go upside down or do the arm balance if you don't want to. So let's start today in child's pose at the back of your mat. And have your blocks nearby you. If you don't have blocks available to you at home, no worries. You could always use something like a book or even a pillow, like that will help you. All right, child's pose. Our knees are wide, our toes are together. Press our hands forward. Let's allow our forehead to rest on the mat as we push our hips back towards our heels. Focus in on your breath. Just allow your body to be super relaxed right here. Maybe it feels good to rock your forehead side to side. With yoga, it's so important that we focus on our breath. In dynamic practices, you oftentimes hear us as instructors cueing that breath to movement. I want you to know that if I say inhale and you're exhaling, it's okay. The important thing is that we find this connection to our breath. Right here, take a big, deep inhale in your nose. Exhale, let it all go. Do that again. Big, deep inhale through your nose. Exhale out your mouth. Breath becomes such an integral part, especially when we do challenging poses such as an arm balance. Continue to breathe as you push your palms down into the mat and start to lift your forearms off the mat. We begin our first opportunity to discover what integrated arms means. Integrated arms means that we are active from our fingers to our shoulders onto the back side of our body. We discover what is called palm arch, and I'll break that down a little bit more in a moment. Think of pulling back with your shoulder blades so they kind of lock into place. Walk your hands to the right side of the mat and feel this length down the back of your body. Breathe right here. Each breath is an opportunity to feel that integration of your arms with your breath, which comes from your center or your core. Let's walk our hands to the opposite side. Push down. Make your way onto all fours with your knees in center. grab one of your blocks right here and just place it in between your hands. So you've got hand on each side. Knees are under your hips. Press your hands down to the mat. I want you to kind of notice this difference. I hope you can see it really well. Notice here how I'm just kind of passive. I'm in the pose, but I'm not integrated. I'm not active. When I integrate my arms, I push down and I feel this engagement into the upper part of my back. And I discover what is, like I mentioned, palm arch, which is where this base part of your hand and your fingers are pulling into the mat. And you push down, and as you do that, your biceps start to rotate forward. Super important things like downward dog, which we're going to play with here in a moment, and so many of our arm balances, and that's where most of us neglect. Pull your belly in, look to your tummy. Exhale, arch, look to the sky. Continue to find that strong arm. Really, really, really important. And it's a hard thing to understand, especially when you're first getting into it. The difference between being rigid. So I don't want you to be tensing everything. Integration doesn't mean tension in a rigid manner. It means a lot of muscles are working a little bit to assist us. So if you're feeling like you all of a sudden can't get this movement into your back, that means you've become rigid. It means that instead of being integrated, you are tensing up. I had a really bad visual analogy that just came into my head, but I'm going to give it to you, even though it sounds really crazy. You know when you really, you need to go to the bathroom really bad, and you're tensing everything, and or when you're a little constipated, and you're like, oh, I want that to come out. Okay, I'm going to stop that analogy because that's just awful. But it's that tension feeling. I think you all know what I mean. Let's come back into neutral spine. Find this long place. You're going to tuck your toes under. Sit back to child's pose again. Lengthen your arms forward. Now, take the block in between your hands. You're going to press your hands into the block as you walk forward, and we start to find a plank position. So the hands are on the outside of the block. Elbows are under our shoulders. Lift your knees off the ground. Push into the block with your hands. Pull your shoulders so they're not going up into our ears. See that difference? I'm up, I'm in, I'm integrated. And then I'm gonna pull the block back just like 1/4 of an inch. Notice I just go whoop and pull that block. That's gonna get deeper. Now you should feel all the muscles in the middle of your body going, hello. You might wonder, why are we doing all of this? If I said today is about an arm balance. Because this feeling is what we need to have when we start to get into our arm balance work. Lower your knees, come down onto your back with that block. Bring the block in between your inner thighs. Press into the block. And it's kind of like your legs go whoop and zip around that block as we lift our hips high to the sky. And then lower our hips back down to the mat. Just do that a few times. Find the lift, the long line from your knee to your shoulder. And then lower back. As we find that engagement with your inner thighs, wrapping around the block, you're really going to feel this deep, deep, deep abdominal engagement. If you want to get really sciencey and technical, it's called your transverse abdominis, and it is that really low supporting muscle. your glutes, the big muscles on the back. You've got actually multiple, you've got what's called a glute min, a glute med, and a glute max. And all of those muscles are going to engage right now. Let's do one more. This wrapping feeling is going to become important again when we move into a crow practice. Lower down. Bring the block in onto your thighs and lift your legs to tabletop. Bring and place your hands onto the block. Press your hands into the mat, or into the block, excuse me. Did you feel how all of a sudden, just by pushing the hands into the block, you get this deep pull into your abdominals? It's amazing, right? Now press your thighs into the block. Oh my goodness, you should be shaking a little bit. If you're not integrated. Remember, it's not about being tense. I can still move, but I've still got that integration. Release. Take your elbows, place them onto the block. Same thing right here. Push into the block from both directions. Everything in the center of your body is there, engaged. Release. Take the block onto your right leg. Let's extend our left leg long with our right elbow on the block and the other one behind our head. Let's start right there. Now push the elbow. If you want to have hand, that is perfectly fine too. You're going to bend your knee in and out. Now, as you start to get a little deeper with this, you can lift your body off the floor. You look over your opposite shoulder. But the most important thing, remember to have this elbow pushing into the block and this leg pushing into the block. Otherwise, you're not getting this deep engagement. Let's do one more. Come back in. Even just those 5 should feel like a deep amount of work when done properly. Leg, elbow, extend, press in, lift up, look over that opposite shoulder. Find your integration. Because again, remember, when we are fully integrated, we have a lot of muscles doing a little bit of work for us, and we really get tight and strong. Find your rotation just a little bit more. Last one. Bend our knees in. Place the block down. Place feet on the floor. Big reach of your arms long overhead. And then roll yourself up, 1 vertebrae at a time. If the elbows need to come onto the floor, and then grab the thighs, do it. Sit up tall. Let's do that 2 more times. All right, so I want you to think. You round your spine. It's 1 vertebrae at a time touching the floor. And reach back around. Come up. Bring your blocks so they are on the outsides of your mat. Just have them there. Okay? We're going to come forward and forward fold into this long standing place. Big deep inhale. We need to get a little bit of movement into our hips. So we need to get a little dynamic. Let's forward fold. Exhale. Inhale, rise. Exhale, fold. As you rise, roll up 1 vertebrae at a time. Lengthen the arms. Fold over like you're pushing your hips back. And you get this great bend. Inhale, rise. Exhale. As you do this, can you feel the reach out your fingers? The energy through your arms. We maintain integrated arms even when we're not on the floor. One more time. Let's stay in our forward fold. Step your right foot back. Bend your knee so it is on the floor and lift your arms high to the sky. Now, I'm only wanting to do this to get a little bit of stretch into this front hip. You might find that taking your hands onto your blocks right here is a better position for you. I actually I think that feels really fantastic today. If you notice what I just did, I pressed my hands into the block and it lifted my chest a little bit, but I'm getting deeper into my hip flexor without putting pressure into my back knee. This has been a position that for years has always really bothered my back knee, and it's only been recently that I've really discovered that if I get this lift up and this like rotation forward with my hip, it doesn't put that pressure into my back knee. Place the blocks down, hands come to the floor, tuck your back toe under, and let's step back to a downward dog. In downward dog, press the palm arch. So what does that mean? If you remember, base of the hand and the fingers push long, the biceps rotate forward, and we get this lift in our upper back. Bend one knee at a time. Feel that reach on the back of your legs. Walk your feet all the way up to meet your hands. Fold over your legs, roll up one vertebrae at a time as you get a big deep inhale, rise. Exhale, fold over. And let's step our left foot back. Bend our knee. Again, our arms can be lifted. Or if we want that little bit of like, boom, lift and engagement, it's just different. So again, think about how you can rotate this hip forward. We can lift up to really get an amazing stretch in that front hip. And I want you to feel that because when we work into a crow, you do need to have a little bit of hip opening in it. Let's lower our hands, place them by our foot, tuck our toe, step back to downward dog. Immediately find your integrated arm. Feel that. Lift your heels, bend your knees, walk your feet to the front of the mat. Take your feet so they are wide, so they are about the distance of the mat. Your toes will turn under. And with your blocks, let's just have them right here in front of us. Bend your knees, big deep inhale, come to the sky. Exhale, our hands are gonna come onto our thighs. I'm gonna turn face you so you can see this just a little bit better. So I'm right here, I'm in this position, and I want you to just kind of shift, okay? So you're getting a little shift, and then for the first time, I'm actually allowing my shoulders to come up to my ears. It's not a common place. Enjoy this moment where you get to do it. We're gonna start lowering our hips down. We wanna find a place where our hips are going towards the ground. You have blocks, yes? Take a block. And if you need to, sit on said block. If you are here, like rounding forward, or your hips are really high to the sky, I would much rather have you sitting on a block because that's gonna actually be a better place of support for you. Okay? If you don't have the block, or even with the block, both positions, you take your elbows, you press out on your thighs, and we start to lift our chest. Now, if today you're like, I really don't want to practice a crow, that's okay, you don't have to. I mean, it's our goal for the day, but you don't have to do it. You can always return to this, okay? Take your hands down to the floor. Step your feet back so your knees are under your hips. Grab the block, place it in between your inner thighs, so that same place that we were at earlier. Toes are tucked under. Integrate your arms as your knees come an inch off the floor. Now, really important to press into the block, okay? Press down and up with your hands, which means I'm doing this, right? I'm pressing down, which lifts me up. Lower down. Take the block out. Step back to plank. Downward dog. Integrated arms. Step your right foot to the outside of your right hand, your left foot to the outside of the left hand. Sit low into position. Okay, here's our first opportunity to practice. Take your block. It's going to go behind you. You want it at this lower level. Hands are here on the floor. I want you to take your toes and place them on top of the block. Okay? So we are now a little bird perched on top of this block, which is perfect for crow. It gives us this lift. Hands are here in front of us. You notice my knees are wide. I'm actually going to turn to y'all. Knees are wide. I take this top part of my arm, also known as your tricep, and press it into the inside of my knee. I then push the inside of my knee into my tricep as I start to lean forward. Lean yourself back. Let's try that again, okay? It's that same idea when we had elbow and on the block and thigh and the elbow were pushing into each other. You push tricep into leg, leg into tricep, and you teeter forward. Now try to lift just one toe off the block. Come back down. One more time. Lean forward. Pull up with those abdominals. Feel the squeeze of the inner thighs as you try to lift the other toe. Come down. Let's step off your block. Step your feet wide. And just roll your wrist. If you notice by having yourself up that little bit of extra height, you're able to get your hips higher and you find more deep core integration. That is one way and one method. I'm going to show a different way. If you want to continue to play with what we were just doing, please do. All right, step back to the front of your mat. Big, deep inhale. Lift your arms high to the sky. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway rise. Find this long, flat back. Now step back to plank. I want you to find a place where your forehead is pretty much in line with your block. Then push back to downward dog. Feel the integration. Don't forget about palm arch. Integrated arm. I'm going to remind you of it because it is such an integral part. Let's step our right foot to the outside of right hand, left foot to outside of left hand. Right? Now, we're going to be lower. Our feet are on the floor, but our forehead is going to aim to touch this block. Right? So same ideas. We have push palms in, we triceps and inner knees and inner thighs press in. We start to lean forward. As you do, keep your toes on the floor, but let your forehead touch the block. Come back down. The scariest part for most people is getting feet off the floor, right? It's like, oh my gosh, it's so weird. Now you've got this little bit of support with the block. So let's try it again. Let's come forward. Lift one foot off the ground now. Woo. Come back. One more time. Let's lean forward. Lift the other foot. Now, as you're here, are you pulling in with those abdominals, pressing out with the arms and in with the legs, right? Come back down. Let's sit back for a moment. Lift up high. Roll ourselves down one vertebrae at a time. Reach our arms long overhead. Feel this great long stretch from finger to toe. Now, pull your knees into your nose right here. Find this position. Bring your elbows to your thighs and then bring them to the inside. We're essentially finding a crow on your back. Okay, so your toes are together, your knees are wide. You press out on your legs and in on, out with your arms and in with your legs, right? Do you feel all that deep abdominal work? Hold, hold. All right, this is what I want you to feel when we go practice right now. Feet come down. Let's roll ourselves up. You can practice with one of the block variations, feet under the block or feet under forehead, or we're gonna try without either. Again, you feel free to use it. Hands here under our shoulders. Press out with the arms, pull in with the legs. So you find that deep engagement. Lift your hips up, yes? So it's like you're trying to touch the forehead to the block. Now you lean forward, those abdominals turn on, your arms are engaged as you try to lift one foot and then the other. If you fall, good. That means that you are working your balance. You didn't just, you might have joined me, and if you want to, you can always go do the yoga sweat hybrid I did prior to this, and I kept falling out of a side crow. Some days it just happens. Let's lower it down. Let's extend our legs. Roll our wrist. You know, that's one of the hard parts with arm balances, is that wrists get a little bit tense. Roll yourself up one vertebrae at a time. Let's roll our wrist. Especially if we forget about integrated arm. Big deep inhale. This is it, guys. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway rise. Exhale, step back to plank. Find your downward dog. I want one last opportunity for you to find crow. So come forward, step your right foot out, your left foot out. Let's come down. Now maybe you want to find crow on your back again. And that's a beautiful place. I actually really like it. Or you're finding it on your arms. Press in. It's about practice. I mean, that's the truth behind arm balances. Is it's strength in your core, it's strength in your arms, it's integration, but it's also just practice. Lower your feet. Sit back. Let's bring, per request, let's bring the bottoms of our feet together. Sit up really tall. Find this place where we can lift our chest and our knees fall out. Take your hands, lift up. I have one last little thing that I want you to do. If this is where you want to stay with this more stretchiness, please do. Or take both blocks. You're going to cross your legs so they are in this crossed position, and you bring one hand on each side of your block. Press your hands in, so integrated arms lifts your hips off the ground. Boom. Lower back down. I'm going to do it from the side so you can see that a little bit. My feet are on the floor, yes? I'm pushed into the block. I lift. My abdominals come on. This is totally different arm balance and arm work, and I don't really want to go into it, but I want you to feel this lift up with those abdominals. Maybe right here, you want to start to bring your knees in just a little bit and lift your feet off the floor, but that's not where I need you to go. Lower down. Hands are, mat, blocks come off to the side. Arms reach high and we roll down to the mat. Bend your knees in, hug your knees to your chest. Let your knees fall to one side. Look over your opposite shoulder. If the concept of integrated arms, integrated core is like foreign to you, which, let's be real, most people, most of you guys don't study exercise science as your day in and day out life. Come back to center. And so it probably is a new or different term or idea. The more that we think about the idea that we're trying to use a lot of muscles a little bit, will help you realize that when we are in these positions, that it's not about forcing one muscle to do everything, but it's about using your entire body, integrating it. That's what matters. Let's reach our legs long, our arms overhead. Feel this great big reach from head to toe. Bring yourself up to a seated position. Thank you guys so much for playing and enjoying. If that was your first time ever doing an arm balance, remember, it just takes practice. You're not going to get it in a 30-minute session. It took me a couple years to finally master a side crow, and still I have days that it's good and days that's like, who am I? So just know that that's the journey of movement, that's the journey of the human body. But when we can think about and find those integrations, we'll be stronger in all that we do. Until next time, guys, I'm Summer. Thank you. Bye.